Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Liz Cleary, and I am the president of the Vernon Township Education Association. The VTA proudly sponsors this Meet the Candidates Night. The basic forum and format will be each candidate will be able to introduce themselves with the 2-minute time limit introductory remarks to introduce themselves and perhaps share their platform. Then we're going to go into a round-robin type of situation with questioning. They will have approximately 2 minutes to respond to each question. Just some opening thoughts as we begin the evening. I think it's important to remember that people that serve on the Board of Education, people who volunteer to run for the Board of Education, are people that are volunteers. That they give up their time and their energy for public service. Public service is what we're all about. The VTA is all about public service. Many hardworking teachers and secretaries and aides and custodians and maintenance people serve Vernon Township every day. The Board of Education members are public servants as well, but they volunteer their time. I have a quote that I'd like to share with you from Barack Obama. It's about public service. That's when America soars, when we look out for one another and we take care of each other, when we root for one another's success, when we strive to do better and to be better than the generation that came before us, and try to build something better for generations to come. That's why we do what we do. That's the whole point of public service. I think the candidates this evening deserve a round of applause for their volunteerism and their public service to Vernon. Okay, we're going to begin with the introductory remarks. But wait, let me introduce the candidates first. When I say your name, you just kind of raise your hand to the audience. We don't have our nameplates this year, so just so people can have an idea of who you are. And I'm just going to go alphabetically because that's the list I have. Mr. Justin Annunziata. Did you raise your hand? Yes. Okay, good. Mrs. Cynthia Auberger. Mrs. Natalie Bucheri. Did I say your name right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, perfect.
Thanks. Mr. Mark Chili. Mrs. Carolyn Incarnato. Mr. David J. McQuillan. And Mrs. Tammy Witters. Also not in attendance this evening, and I will be reading his introductory remarks, is Michael S. Peak, also running for Board of Ed. And that's where I'm going to begin. I'm going to read his remarks. Oh, I'm sorry, I did that. My bad. And we also have a late arrival there is, Mrs. Jennifer Pellet. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Jennifer Pellet, thank you. Okay, these are the introductory remarks for Mr. Peak. Thanks to Liz Cleary and the VTA for holding the Meet the Candidates event and for allowing me to provide an introduction in absentia. My name is Michael Peak, and I would like to take this opportunity to introduce myself, give a little background on my educational philosophy, and highlight some important issues the district faces. I am 44 years old, married with 2 children in Vernon schools. I have a background in academics and value education as a means for personal enrichment and professional advancement. My life's journey mirrors those values. I graduated with a biology degree from Moravian College and then went on to pursue a PhD from the University of Maryland. I continued going to school every day as a professor of biology at William Patterson University. In fact, as Liz speaks, I am teaching an evening class resulting in my absence. My educational philosophy is to put students first. The safety and needs of the students are paramount to their success. Board decisions should always consider the immediate impacts on students regardless of any policy decision. Any program cut or implementation should weigh the costs, both financially and to the students, with the benefits to ensure student success. The board should also ensure that the learning environment is safe, productive, and positive. Ultimately, student success hinges on teachers and students feeling safe in the schools, having productive learning programs, and being in a positive teaching environment. In my opinion, the district is facing several important issues. First, I believe most pressing is the vote of no confidence by the VTA. I am not satisfied with the line-by-line review of conduct with the board president and the superintendent. That conversation does not hold anyone accountable, only placates both parties with the appearance of addressing the conduct issue. Second, I feel the district is faced with the problem of declining state aid. Teachers are continually being expected to do more with less. Finding creative ways for maintaining high standards and good programs will be necessary for the next elected board. Lastly, I would like to see how the board is evaluating the reconfiguration. Will it result in increased student success for the costs that were involved? Thank you for taking the time to listen to my introduction. Thank you to Liz Cleary for organizing and reading my thoughts, and thanks to the VTA for putting this event together. All right. Okay, for the introduction remarks, who was born in January? Anyone? February? March? I've got two. Three March. Okay, let's go in order. Who's the first one in March? Give me dates. 14th, 27th, then. 7, you go first. You're up.
Make an introduction, Liz?
Yep.
Okay.
Introduction.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carolyn Incarnato. I am a mother. I am a taxpayer, and I am very happy about the education my 3 children have received in the Vernon Township schools. I'm here to repay a debt of gratitude because of the great education they received. They have done very well here. I have 2 in college, Regina and Lauren, and many of you I can see in the audience have taught my children. So my youngest is Frank. Frank is graduating in June, and he's doing well also. So I now have the time to devote to the Board of Education. I am self-employed. I have a business, and I serve as a controller of that business. So I handle all of the budgets and the payroll and everything for that business. So I'd like to contribute that way to the Board of Ed and help in any way I can.
Thank you. March 14th.
Good evening. Thank you to the Vernon Township Education Association for sponsoring this event and to the community for taking the time to attend tonight. My name is Tammy Witters. Let me start by telling you a little bit about myself and my qualifications. My husband and I have lived in Vernon for over 15 years. We have 3 daughters, twins in the 8th grade and a 5th grader, all in the Vernon school system. I have a master's degree in educational psychology and currently work as a clinician and screener evaluating children and adults. I have taught as an adjunct professor and as a substitute teacher. I volunteer with the SCA and coach for several sports teams in town. As a parent, professional, resident, and community volunteer, I bring diverse experience to this position. I believe that the purpose of the Board of Education is to be a champion and leader for the education of our students. It is our job to make a difference in students' lives and to recognize and support the extraordinary teachers who take action to make that happen. Our children must be our priority, and our educators are our most valuable resource. In addressing the needs of every student, we need to consider the effects that the reconfiguration had on students, educators, class size, extracurricular activities, scheduling, and school transitions, as well as its costs and its benefits. Only then can we begin to plan to make the necessary adjustments and improvements moving forward. My efforts as a board member would focus on ensuring open, honest communication and transparency. Everyone, educators, parents, and the community has the right to be heard, not just to speak. The board must be responsive and listen to all constituents and encourage open dialogue without fear of reprisal. Our community benefits when we retain our students and educators and attract new families to Vernon. The board is responsible for aligning and sustaining resources to meet district needs while being fiscally responsible to the community as a whole. As an individual, I will bring honesty, accountability, collaboration, and fiscal responsibility to the position. Board members need to have trust and respect for each other and the community and be able to work as a team. Although I am running as an individual, I support Mark Chili and Michael Peak as candidates. I believe that as a team with shared beliefs, values, and a vision for the future, we can effectively implement positive change into our district.
Thank you. March 27th, right?
Yes. Good evening. My name is Justin Annunziata. I would like to thank the VTEA for hosting this important event each year. I'm running for the Board of Education because I care deeply about the success of our students and our district. I'm running because I'm also very concerned about the direction of our district on a number of key issues. As a graduate of Vernon Township High School, I have firsthand knowledge of many of the challenges that we face as a district. Beyond this, I also have an academic and professional background that I believe will serve me well if elected. I've recently graduated from American University with a degree in accounting and a minor in management. Currently, I'm the financial controller for an auto group in New York State. In that position, I oversee the accounting, the financing, the legal and regulatory compliance, and many of the human resources functions for the company. I'm very concerned over a string of recent events in our school district, events that ultimately have a very real impact on our students and their educations. A number of highly qualified and highly respected administrators have left our district after years of service. We've seen other administrators hired based on personal relationships, some quickly departing after troubling controversies. We continue to have no full-time director of special services to give full-time attention to our special needs community. There's been an alleged lack of enforcement of many state laws. And finally, we're experiencing low employee morale and a vote of no confidence by the VTEA. Clearly, something is broken, and we need to fix it. No matter how you feel about some of these individual issues, we should all want a district that values and respects all of its stakeholders. Our school district has many terrific assets and so much untapped potential. Accepting the status quo should not be an option. I will use my unique perspective as both a former student and a young professional to bring positive change to the Vernon Township School District.
There we go. Do we have April birthdays? Nope. May? June? All righty.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me here this evening to participate in this event. As most of you know, I am a graduate of Vernon High School, and so are my husband and children. I am often asked why I continue to run for the Board of Education, and the answer is simple. It's the children. I am the only board member who is surrounded by our children all day long, and that inspires me to do what I can to be the best for them. Through my work, I transport an age span from 3 to 18, both special needs and regular ed students. I am the first person they see associated with our schools in the morning and the last one they see in the afternoon. Over the last couple of years, our board has worked very hard with the help of our administration, community, volunteers, faculty, and staff to formulate a strategic plan for our school district. Once that plan was complete, we were able to set goals to carry out the vision that the committee had constructed. In reviewing the plan recently, I was happy to see that for the most part, we achieved, and in some cases surpassed, the expectations we had during the process. Over the next 2 years, we hope to review the new initiatives we put into place, continue to improve areas in need of tweaking, and prepare to begin the development of a new plan that will carry us further into the future. It is very exciting to be a part of a school system that is being acknowledged for our children's outstanding accomplishments. In my work with New Jersey school boards at the county, state, and national level, I have been very proud to represent Vernon and bring the good news of our school district wherever I go. When I first ran for the board, I had a unique perspective. I was a former student, the daughter of a past board member, an adult ed teacher, and the mom of 3 children ages 12, 10, and 4. I have continued to expand that perspective and now include the fact that 2 of those children grew up to be teachers. And when I think of what I can do to help prepare the future for our district's children, I may not be looking at them through just a mom's eyes anymore. I am proud to say that I now tend to want to do the best I can for them through a grandmother's eyes as well. Thank you.
Thank you. July birthday? August? Oh, 2. What do we got? What are the dates? 7/1. You're up.
All right, thank you. I would like to thank the Vernon Township Education Association for hosting this evening, and would like to thank all of you for attending. My name is Mark Chili, and I'm very excited to be running for the Vernon Township Board of Education. I've been a resident of Vernon for over 11 years. My wife, Tony, and I have a blended family of 6. That's usually when I hear a gasp, and that gasp is usually from Tony. Two of those children grew up and graduated from the school system, and I currently have 2 in the school system, Olivia, age 9, and Lainey, age 7. There she is over there. Needless to say, I have a vested interest in the safety and performance of our school system. That being said, I'm not an educator by trade. I'm a business owner of a management consulting firm based in Parsippany, New Jersey, and we specialize in organizational design and assessment. I graduated with honors from Montclair State University with a bachelor's degree in accounting, earned the Dean's Award for highest academic achievement in accounting and finance in 1992, and in 2001, I received my Ivy League MBA from Columbia University, also graduating with honors. I do believe as a business owner and with previous experience in Fortune 100 companies and top-tier consultancies, I've had the privilege of working with senior leadership teams and boards of directors of public and private companies and helping them tackle their most significant issues. I leveraged my business acumen, financial acumen, leadership capabilities, and most specifically, my ability to pinpoint specific issues and tackle those issues head-on to really leverage some success throughout my career. I do believe that skill set would also be a benefit to the Board of Education at Vernon Township. And while I believe it's important that all of you know a bit about us, I think it's even more important that you understand what we stand for, what we believe in, and the principles that we'll use to guide our decisions if we do become elected to the board. And the 3 principles that I'll use primarily to guide all of my decisions are the principles of safety. To me, that's a non-negotiable. We can't compromise that, and I think we can do a better job. The second principle is quality, and that's quality of education. It's quality of work environment for our teachers and district employees, and I think we can do a much better job. And the last one is value. It's our fiscal responsibility that we have to the taxpayers of this township. And again, we can do a much better job. And I would ask you for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Our other August birthday?
August birthday, yes. Thank you, Vernon Township Education Association, for hosting this event, and thank you for everyone for attending. My name is Natalie Buccieri. I've been a Vernon resident for 20 years. I'm the mom of 4, and all of my children have benefited from the Vernon Township School District. For the past 17 years, I've managed our family countertop and installation business. As a business owner, I need to be self-motivated, independent-minded, and willing to think outside the box. These skills have helped our family business, and they're what will help me be a valued member of the Vernon Township Board of Ed. Previous to this, I worked at Cigna Healthcare, where I was responsible for resolving high-profile customer service and legal issues for the New York and New Jersey region. I responded to departments of health and insurance grievances that were lodged against Cigna Healthcare. I also worked closely with our legal department in responding to lawsuits. My background in customer service, coupled with my paralegal certificate, demonstrates my attention to detail, the law, and regulations, which give me the skills necessary to balance the responsibilities of a board member. As a parent and resident of Vernon, I truly value a quality education. My family is an excellent representation of a typical Vernon family. Because of this, I can bring real-life experience, interest, and the concerns of the families that make up our school community. As a taxpayer, I can balance this with attention to fiscal responsibility and the need to adhere to guidelines and laws. Finally, as the daughter of a retired educator, I understand the valuable resource that is our classroom teacher. I've decided to run for a seat on the Board of Education because I believe providing a quality education to our students is paramount. I have always had an interest in serving our community, and now that my children are older, I have the time needed to dedicate to this important position. I want our schools to succeed, and I want to be part of the team that ensures that success. While we have had some great successes in recent times, our district has some challenges ahead. Our budget has been cut in state aid, and declining enrollment is a concern for all. Our Board of Education needs members that can tackle these issues while balancing the needs and interests of all the stakeholders involved. I know that I'm up to that task. If elected, I believe you'll find me to be an honest, hardworking, and dedicated individual that would be an asset to the current board. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. September? October? Oh, how about that? Last two. What are the dates? 7? The other October? Oh, you said November. October, okay, you're up.
Good evening. My name is David McQuillan, and I would first like to thank everyone involved in making this event happen tonight. And I want to thank everyone watching this event here in person and to those on the live stream. It's a great thing to see so many people wanting to be involved and really wanting to make a difference in their community. And that's where I want to applaud everyone up here tonight taking up this task. I believe I could speak for everyone when I say that elections are stressful, and I think I could speak for everyone when I say that the position on the Board of Education is not an easy task. I do believe everyone up here tonight has the best intentions for this school district. It just comes down to execution. About a half year ago, I decided to run for this Board of Education on the basis that I did not want to sit back my senior year in high school and leave my school district in a worse place off than it had provided for me in the past. I can credit my motivation and will to succeed to those who guided me along the way, my family, my friends, and the faculty and staff here at Vernon. To see these men and women not want to speak at Board of Ed meetings, have their hours cut, and not feel comfortable in their work environment irks me. To hear a notion that Board of Ed members should not be able to form their own opinions is troubling. To see the sale of a property equivalent to that of a promise, rather than a fiscally responsible decision to put money back into the schools to benefit students, is irresponsible. To knowingly allow 18A laws be broken and not report these incidents is unacceptable. We must change this climate for the betterment of this school district. President Obama once said, "Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek." I believe that I am the change that Vernon needs on this Board of Education. I hope to have a great time with you all tonight, and thank you.
Thank you. So was there a second October birthday? No. November? You're up.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Pellett, and I'm not a politician. I'm a mother. I have 2 children in the Vernon school system. My husband and I moved here full-time when they were born. We thought Vernon would be a great place to raise kids. We still believe that. I'm also a taxpayer. I write that check every quarter, and I watch the number edge up every year. But I don't begrudge the town that money. I just want to see it managed responsibly. I don't think that's too much to ask. I'm a business owner. I worked in publishing in New York City for 15 years before starting my own business in 2001. Publishing is a tough business these days. You need to be able to motivate people, you need to be able to negotiate effectively, and you need to be able to manage and allocate resources carefully, or you don't survive. I'm still here, so I'm doing something right. I'm an American. I believe that providing a quality education to the next generation is a fundamental responsibility of a country. We need to equip our kids with the tools, the skill set, the knowledge to succeed in today's global marketplace. Vernon has worked toward that goal with the incorporation of technology and other changes to the curriculums and other clubs and activities that have been added. But we need to continue to push on that front, and we need to find ways to overcome the internal conflict that has plagued our district. We need to come together to deliver on that imperative that we owe to our town's children. As a mother, as a taxpayer, a business owner, and as an American, I want to help that happen for the kids of Vernon.
Thank you. Okay, now we are going to have some fun. I have provided the candidates with a response order, so they'll know exactly when it's their turn to respond to the question. Our first respondee will be Mr. Annunziata, and the question for all. The basic job of the Board of Education is a two-headed paradoxical monster. You are tasked with providing the best opportunity for the children of Vernon Township while also being fiscally accountable to the taxpayers of Vernon Township. If you are elected to serve as a board member, what will be your priority when making decisions? Will it be the best opportunity for children head or the fiscally accountable to taxpayer head? You must pick one. That's what I say to my students. You must pick one. Please justify your selection. And we'll start with Mr. Annunziata.
Thank you for that question. I think that this is a really important question that a lot of people struggle with, when running for the Board of Education, because we're dealing with something so important like our students' education, but also we're dealing with taxpayer dollars. So we want to make sure that we balance and be very equitable in those decisions. If I have to pick one, I would pick supporting the best opportunities for our students, hands down. And I preface this by saying that, of course, fiscal responsibility is absolutely necessary when managing taxpayers' dollars, but we have to ensure that we're providing the next generation of students and of Americans with a sound and quality education. I think one of the most fiscally responsible things that we can do for the taxpayers is develop a strong school district. Most studies would show that one of the #1 considerations that families and individuals look at when buying a home is the quality of a school district. So by investing in our schools and investing in our students and ensuring that we have a quality, highly ranked school district, we can give back to the taxpayers through increased home values and more people wanting to move to our town. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Allberger will respond next.
I have to agree. I didn't have to think very long about it. My first priority will always be the children. I know that a lot of people think that we spend money needlessly or we spend it in areas maybe that we don't have to. But I think over the years, the people that have come on the board and have seen the story behind each hire that we have or every explanation that we have for what we do, is justified to spend that money for the children, especially when we have, special ed children come into the district that we have to spend so much money on, and other areas that we have to spend money on. You can't just have that line where you say, I'm not going to spend any money. You have to say, you have a child that needs the extra money or the extra education, you have to do it, and you have to put them first. And a lot of times it doesn't help the bottom line, but in the end, it helps the child. So that's it.
Thank you. Mrs. Bucieri will respond next.
The primary role of the Board of Education is to ensure that the schools are run properly and that children receive an education, a quality education. So that would be my choice also, because that is the responsibility and the oath that you take when you become a Board of Education member. Of course, being fiscally responsible is important. It's a concern that everyone has, not just taxpayers. Everyone wants to make sure that they're getting the most that they can, the best value for their dollar, but giving the children the best education possible at their level is the main responsibility, and that's the goal for the Board of Education.
Thank you. Mr. Chili will respond next. Mike, I don't think your mic's on.
Is it on now? There we go. For me, this is the value principle that I spoke of earlier. And while I would say it's about the best opportunity for our students, the first thing I would do is classify the cost, right? So is the cost an investment or is it a pure expense? And let me give you an example. If it's for a computer, if it's for art supplies, for books, that's an investment. I'm for that. I'm for the best opportunity for our students. If it's for a two-way mirror, that's a cost. I'm not for that. So I'm going to look at every cost and say, is this an investment in our students' education? Is it actually going to enrich the student-teacher relationship, then I'm for it and I back it. But I am going to scrutinize to make sure that it is an investment, not just an expense.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mrs. Incarnato will respond next.
Education. Can you hear me? By far, the priority is a great education. We can be fiscally responsible, but when you have to make a decision, the decision is for the best education for our students. And that decision has to be a well-rounded education. We have access here in Vernon to so many things other than academics that when these kids come out of our schools, they've been exposed to so many things. And the education that they receive has to be the most important. We have to answer to our taxpayers, so we have a job to do to be sure we do it in the best fiscally responsible way. But the overwhelming priority we have is to give the best education possible to our students every single day.
Thank you. Mr. McQuillan will respond next.
I'm going to have to agree with everyone that has spoken before me. The chief concern of a Board of Ed member is the students, and a taxpayer would feel much better if we put our dollars into educating our students to the best of our abilities. If our education excels, if our enrollment goes up, if our after-school activities, extracurricular activities are of the best in the state and the best in the area, we'll get more people to move to this area of New Jersey, which is what we need now. So having this be our chief concern rather than fiscal responsibility, that'll bring more people into the town, and that has to be every Board of Ed member's #1 concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Witters will respond now.
I also believe that the primary purpose of the Board of Education is in preparing students for the future and for leading satisfying and productive lives. The Board of Ed needs to focus on improving student achievement, creating better programs, ensuring the safety and education of our students as a primary goal. That doesn't mean not addressing fiscal responsibility, but we do have to consider the children first. The needs of every student in the school needs to be looked at individually. In the end, it would benefit taxpayers because the better our school systems are, the more productive our students are, the better things our students are able to do will attract taxpayers to our district.
And Mrs. Pellet? Mrs. Pellet will respond.
I would agree with everyone else that the best opportunities for children is paramount. We are responsible for going about that in a fiscally responsible way. The two are not necessarily at odds with one another. I would echo what Justin said. When people feel that a district is struggling, when they see the kinds of headlines that we've all seen in the paper about our school district, they don't move here. They choose to go elsewhere. I know I looked at that when I moved here. Or if they already live here, they move their kids to private schools or charter schools. I personally know 12 kids that moved this year to private schools and charter schools because of what they've seen going on in this district. That's a problem that exacerbates our problem, because for every kid who leaves here and goes elsewhere, we lose money going into the system, and it becomes a downward spiral. So we need to fix that, and that will help us address the fiscal issue.
Thank you. Moving on to question number 2. I would like for you to imagine a toolbox. Which tool best reflects your personality and your skill set, and why? Our first responder will be Mrs. Witters.
One second, I'm sorry. Totally unexpected question, but I'm going to say a needle and thread, because that's something that's in my toolbox. And I feel that it's because a needle is sharp, smart, intelligent in that way, And with it, you can not only repair things that are broken or need fixing, but you can also create new things. And I'm all about being creative. I've raised my 3 children to be creative, and I feel that we need creative ideas to repair the things that are wrong with our district and to continue to improve the things that are going well in our district, always striving for doing better and doing more.
Thank you. Mrs. Incarnato will respond next.
I would have to say sandpaper. I don't know if that's a tool, but I would say sandpaper. Sandpaper smooths over the rough edges and makes everything just go a little easier. And I like to think of myself as someone that can resolve differences and create a collaborative environment where people can speak together and overcome their differences and listen to each other and try to decide where we can meet in the middle. So that's why I feel like I'm sandpaper.
Thank you. Mr. McQuillan will respond next.
If I had to pick a tool in the toolbox that best represented me, I would have to say a wrench. A wrench will surround students with the best opportunities around them while providing a path for them, guiding them in their direction while they want to succeed. By using this wrench and surrounding students with the best opportunities, we provide them with the best education possible, the best opportunities, and just having people around them that care about their education is the best thing that we can provide students. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Annunziata?
This is certainly a very unexpected question, so thank you to the VTEA for keeping us on our feet. If I had to say that I was any tool in a toolbox, I would say a measuring tape. I try with any decision that I make to be very measured and pragmatic while I look at that issue and look at that decision. I'm very data-driven and detail-oriented when I look at policies. I like to know the information first before I make any rash decisions. So if elected to the board, any decision that comes before me, before I can really give a full opinion on something, I want to be able to look at all the data, look at all the detail, hear everyone's perspective, and then make the most educated, measured decision possible.
Can you hear me? There we go. Mr. Chili will respond next.
Yes, thank you. First, disclaimer, I want to in no way imply that I admit I'm a tool, okay? No, to answer the question, I would, my answer would be a level. And because a level to me represents balance, it's measured, and it's precise. And when I am faced with an issue, I do want to understand all sides of an issue, try to swing my chair around the other side of the table and just try to think about how someone else could be taking a different perspective, try to see things from their point of view, and what would be the right balance between perhaps two sides or multiple sides of an issue, and then get that right. So to me, the symbolism of a level signifies the composure I try to keep when facing difficult issues and emotional issues that I think we've all seen in this district lately.
Thank you. Mrs. Allberger is next.
I think the one tool that I always have to have nearby, and we have several of them in the house, and I don't know if we call it a Leatherman. I don't know if everybody calls it a Leatherman or not. It's one of those things that has a million different things in it. It's not like really a Swiss Army knife. It's more like it's about this big, and it's got, you open it up, and it can be scissors, it can be pliers, it can be screwdriver, 2 different heads, it can be a knife, it can be, I've even used it as a hammer to put a nail in the wall when I've had to. So I think I would like to be a Leatherman because this way I would be ready for anything that comes my way and I'd be able to handle it. And I think that that's why I like to keep them around the house, because that's pretty much what happens. You never know what you're going to need it for, but it's there. So.
Thank you. Mrs. Bucieri?
I wish my husband could answer this because I don't know that many tools, but one that popped in my mind was a chisel, and I had a picture of like an artist, Da Vinci, like with marble, and just plugging away. You can't see what the masterpiece is going to be, but the chisel in his hand, he just, long hours working at something, and that's really my character. I don't give up. I work hard, I plug away, and you might not see an outcome right away. It might take a long time, but I am not one to give up. I'll push through any unpleasantness, work with others, and continue to get the result that would be best for our district.
Thank you. Mrs. Pellet.
There's a problem with going last. Everybody's taken all the good tools. I've got no tools left. I'm going to go with a rope because I think what we need to do with this situation we have right now in our district is get everybody pulling in the same direction. We have obviously a lot of caring, intelligent people right here on stage and in the audience and watching at home who care about these issues and who are smart and have ideas. I'd like to get everybody to harness all of that energy and all pull together to fix the problems that we have, and stop looking backward and blaming and pointing fingers, and start coming up with solutions together and pulling together.
Thank you. Moving on to our third and final question. If you are elected to serve as a Board of Education member, what personal ethical standard will you use as your moral compass when engaging in discussions and voting on recommendations? And our first responder will be Mr. Chili.
And this goes back to my opening, and the one vow that I could make if elected is transparency in my decision-making. I will tie every decision back to the three primary principles that I indicated in my opening. Those principles being safety, again, it's a non-negotiable, it can't be compromised, and I feel like we have compromised it in this district, the water issue being one. That's not acceptable, not acceptable. The second is quality, and that's quality of education for our students, and again, it's quality of the work environment for teachers and every district employee. I do believe that when there's a healthy work environment, you have a better student-teacher dynamic, and that leads to quality of education, so it's a cycle that can't be broken. And judging from last week's Board of Ed meeting, it's broken, so that's not acceptable. The last principle that I will use in guiding every decision is value. And I do take seriously the hardworking taxpayers of this community. We can't spend frivolously. Every dollar counts. We have to do a better job of shifting every penny that we spend, move it towards investment and not into costs. I'd want to get every dollar we can closer to the student-teacher relationship as much as possible. And that's where I would scrutinize the spend. But with the North Star that the best opportunities for our students is important. So you have that vow from me, if I do get your support, that every decision I make is going to be backed by one or more of those principles. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Witters will respond next.
Thank you. If elected, I believe in honesty, accountability, and collaboration. It is our ethical responsibility to be transparent with the public, the educators, the parents in our community, that if we are making ethical decisions, we are doing so with a clear conscience. We're voting for what's in the best interest of the children. We need to unite this community, and we need to realize that the board does set the climate for our district. We need trust and engagement and more transparency so that people can feel confident in us again.
Thank you. Mr. Annunziata will respond next.
Thank you. For me, every decision that comes before the board will come down to two issues. First and foremost, how does this decision affect our students and the quality of their education? I think that that's the same for anybody that's up here running and any of our current board members. You know, the question has to be, how does this affect our students? And then from there, how does this decision affect all the other stakeholders in our community? The parents, educators, faculty, staff, administrators. We have to take into consideration that the decisions that the board makes has consequences, and how is this going to impact everyone else? So I believe if you put those two questions at the forefront in all of your decision-making, everything else will fall into place.
Thank you. Mrs. Allberger will respond next.
I think that you have to look at it a couple of different ways when you say ethics. I believe over the years that I have to be true to myself when I make a vote. I gather the information. Sometimes it takes months to gather the information before we take a vote. Sometimes we only learn about it that night and we're given limited information to make a vote. But as a board member, we are generally given 100% of the information, whereas the public may not hear the full 100%. So sometimes when you're making a decision on a vote, it's based on what you know, and sometimes the perception of the public is different because they do not know the whole 100%. So I found over the years, the most important thing for me is that when I do vote, based on all of the information that I've been given, and I make my decision, that the next morning when I wake up, I have to look in the mirror. And I know that it sounds, whatever, but that's exactly what I have to do. I have to wake up in the morning, and the only person that I have to answer to is myself. And if that night before I made a decision on a vote that I wasn't happy with, and I made it because of another reason, I can't look at myself in the mirror. So as far as ethics, my own personal ethics go, I weigh the decision based on all of the information that I've been given, and I make the best decision that I can live with based on what I have to do for the children in this district. The other ethical part of that question would be the actual ethics that board members have to follow. And I think that that's, there's board members that have been on the board for years that still don't totally and truly understand the ethics that we are held by. And every year I say it to the board, the first thing we have to do this year is do more ethics training, because no matter how much ethics training we do, there's still things that are left that people will go ahead and do and not realize that they're violating their own personal ethics as far as being a board member.
10
So
seconds.
there's two ways that I look at that.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Bucieri?
One of the most important guides in making decisions is truthfulness and honesty. I'm an honest, truthful person, probably sometimes almost to a fault. So that's one of my guiding principles in just my life in general. The other, as a board member, we're required to follow the law, the guidelines, and policies from the state and from our district. Just looking over our VTSD website, there are, I think, probably over 200 bylaws and guidelines on the website. And that dictates how our school system, how our school district is run, from the superintendent all the way down to our pre-K program, to every employee, every aspect of the district, there are guidelines. And as a board member, we need to make decisions that follow the law and the guidelines and policies that have been set. When you're not doing that, you're not following those ethics that Cindy was referencing earlier. That's a responsibility, and that's part of the oath that a board member would take when they are elected and when they agree to that code of ethics. And that is something that I actually find very interesting. I enjoy reading that. The law interests me, and those types of, I guess, decisions. I look forward to digging into that and understanding how it works and making the best decisions guided by our policies and in accordance with that, and that would benefit the education of our students. And that's the next step. Does it benefit the education of our students? Does it benefit the staff? And is it fiscally responsible to the taxpayer? But first and foremost, we're run by
10 seconds.
by bylaws and guidelines that we must adhere to. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Incarnato?
Thank you. I've been on the board since July. I was appointed in July of this year. because another board member resigned. And in these few months, I've learned that ethics is probably the most important factor in what we do. First thing, whenever we're faced with a decision, I think our priority is to be sure that our students, our teachers, our administrators, and our taxpayers are being benefited one way or the other by this decision, no matter who it's affecting. If it's affecting the teachers, if it's affecting the students, we have to look at the big picture and be sure we're doing and making an ethical decision. Another big factor in being on the board is conflicts. There's conflicted and non-conflicted members. A conflicted member may have a relative working in the district, and there are decisions that they can't vote on. So I am someone that has no conflicts and no relatives, no neighbors, no one I know works in the district, so no one I'm related to. So that's a very important factor. So there are board members that can't vote on everything that comes before them for those reasons. But it's very important when we go to make a decision that we all give our input and we all listen to one another. That way, there's other sides of a decision that we may not have thought of, and we share our viewpoints, and we come together, and you hope and we pray that we make the best decision for our students and our teachers and our administrators and our taxpayers. And that's the best ethical decision we can make.
Thank you. Mr. McQuillan?
Thank you. Without ethics, a board cannot run efficiently, but we are representatives of the people who elected us. After all, we are elected officials. We represent the taxpayers and work for the betterment of our education of the students. Here at the Vernon Township School District, we must listen to those who we represent, but student advancement and success is my #1 priority on my ethical compass. Without student advancement, what are we here as a board? We need to advance our students. We need to provide the best education that we can. We need to provide the best education. Without ethics, nothing can be done, no organization, nothing at all. But we must keep student advancement our #1 priority. Thank you.
And Mrs. Pellet.
Integrity and honesty. My father always taught me when I was young, say what you will do and do what you say you will. As a board member, unfortunately, you can't always explain yourself. You're constrained. Joshua, watching at home, that's a vocabulary word. That means you all have to make a leap of faith and trust that when these people go behind closed doors, they will have your interests at heart. And be able to represent you, which goes to the conflict of interest problem that we've had in the past. There were, I think, 4 out of 9 people had relatives who were employed by the town or the school. I don't have that issue, and that has been a problem. I would pledge, because you have to have that faith in us, as a board member, if I'm elected, I would pledge to have an open door policy. I might not always be able to explain what happened behind the closed doors, but I would always want you, as the people we're representing, to feel comfortable calling me and explaining your point of view and telling me what you expect or want of us. That would be one way that we could enable you to have that faith in us.
Well, that concludes our questioning. Once again, I would just like to reiterate that people who volunteer to step into public service and to loosely connect it to the famous Teddy Roosevelt quote about the man in the arena, people need to be applauded for that. So once again, a round of applause for our candidates. At this time, we are done. There's lots of snacks, and the candidates, I'm sure, would love to mingle and chit-chat with all of you. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Have a good evening.